Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Can you all hear me? Hey, thank you all for coming out today. My name is Ben Felicia. I'm the Director of Operations and Strategy with the Pennsylvania Restaurant and Lodging Association. And today we're here to talk about where the restaurant industry is going, especially considering that winter is approaching. Although I'm thrilled to see our restaurants full recently, it will take years to recover from the past 18 months. The latest economic research on business conditions and restaurant operator outlook is startling. 63% of our restaurant operators say that sales volume in August was lower than it was in August of 2019. More recently, 58% of operators say business conditions are worse now than they were just 3 months ago. Changes in consumer behavior, specifically a drastic decline in consumer demand for indoor dining, occurred due to the spike experienced from coronavirus cases associated with the Delta variant. 78% of operators say their restaurant experienced a decline in customer demand for indoor on-premise dining. And just because Philly is doing a great job getting everyone vaccinated does not mean that the decline in COVID cases will magically make our restaurants be able to survive the future. 23% of operators think it'll be another 7 to 12 months before business conditions return to normal. 44% think it'll be a year, where 19 say conditions will never return to normal. Combine this data with the fact that restaurants are still struggling to attract enough employees to support customer demand, and that food and supply costs continue to increase, and the likelihood of restaurants surviving through the remainder of the pandemic, or even just the winter months ahead, without additional resources, is grim. Since the onset of the pandemic, restaurants have adapted to changes in consumer behavior and business trends, from fulfilling more to-go orders, to offering cocktails to go, and of course, expanding capacity through outdoor dining. Restaurants have done whatever they could do to keep their doors open and serve their communities. Outdoor dining has become a significant source of revenue for restaurants. Nearly 70% of full-service restaurants with outdoor dining report that outdoor dining accounts for 20% or more of daily sales. Our streeteries and parklets around the city are crucial, not only for the recovery of our struggling industry, but to continue to showcase how amazing Philly is to our residents and visitors alike. Through investments in capacity building equipment and unique local partnerships, some restaurants will manage to survive, but most won't. This is all the more reason why we need Congress to replenish the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, especially for the 65% of Pennsylvania restaurants still waiting to receive those funds. While there's no clear path to get this done, it's still possible and still very crucial. And we're asking Congress to keep our restaurants front of mind as they continue negotiations in Washington. So today we have a lineup of some great legislators that have been champions for our industry. They're all going to say a few words. But I would also like to recognize some folks that won't be speaking today. I want to say hi to Erin Santamore, Chief of Staff to Council Member Dom, who has been a hero to us here in Philly. We have Tia Watson, the Southeast Pennsylvania Regional Director for Senator Casey. We have Eliza Alford here from Councilmember Richardson's office. Thank you. And Kevin Bungazzoni from Congressman Fitzpatrick's office. Now I'd like to introduce one of our special guests, Councilmember Alan Dom, to provide some remarks.
I want to thank PRLA and Ben. Thank you for all your work. And also thank Melissa. You guys were amazing, really. And I want to thank all my colleagues who've been supportive and are going to be here today. Councilman Derek Green. I know State Senator Nicole Savala is here. Thank you. Representative State Rep Mary Isaacson. and Anuj Gupta with Congressman Evans' office, and Kevin from Congressman Fitzpatrick's office. Thanks for being here today. And it's really important that our voices are heard on this outdoor legislation. It is key. And, I said this to my son, who is, he's just about 40. He's not there yet. That shows you how old I am. I said to him, you need to have fun every day of your life. And outdoor dining for Philadelphians is fun. And we need to have that every day. All of you need to make that commitment. Have fun every day, because life is a gift. And outdoor dining is a big part of that gift, in my opinion. But it's also a part of bringing the city back. The city, look, we got nailed on the COVID issue in the pandemic. Restaurants hurt the most, so did hotels. I think when you look at the lost sales of restaurants and the lost jobs, I think PRLA told me almost 30% in our region closed. We can't hire people. You have supply side issues with food costs. Food costs are up 10, 20%, even more in some cases. I know meat and chicken have skyrocketed. So it's a struggle to stay alive, and outdoor dining will help us and help you stay alive. And I will say this, Philadelphia's restaurant dining scene is pretty amazing. I would say it's the best in the country. And I'll also say this, during the pandemic, I want to thank all the restaurant people that are here and are not here, because you all did a tremendous job of keeping our residents safe. There were really no issues. You guys did amazing work. I was so proud of the restaurant industry, really. When you think about it and the potential, you guys did amazing work. Thank you. So our goal with the permanent outdoor dining and the legislation I proposed, along with my colleagues, is a promise to everyone that we can offer outdoor dining in a safe, accessible, equitable manner citywide. To make good on that promise, outdoor dining must exist through a centralized process. Centralized. Many individuals and businesses have already voiced their support. We have over 1,000 people signed up. And again, I do want to thank my chief of staff, Erin Santamore, for all her work, and Brian Dries, who's been tremendous on this from Sisler. You guys have done amazing work. Thank you so much for making this happen for all of us. So we need to maintain this momentum. This is going to go to a committee. I think it's in November, the second week in November, if I recall, November 9th. So we need all of your support at that committee hearing. If the process is it goes to the committee, it's got to be voted out of committee, then it goes to the council, and finally for a vote, full vote on the council. But to me, this is a game changer and an opportunity. We can go back to the way it was before, or we can change the face of the city and have a better city going forward. And that's why we're all here today. So thank you very much, and thank you, Ben, and thank you, PRLA. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Next, I'd like to call up my Pennsylvania Senator, newly elected Mikhail Saval.
Thank you. Can everyone hear me? Thank you so much. Good afternoon. Again, I'm Nikhil Saval. I represent the people, communities, and businesses of the 1st Senatorial District here in Philly. The 1st Senatorial District is home to one of the highest concentrations of restaurants, bars, and hotels in Pennsylvania, and thus one of the greatest concentrations of jobs in the hospitality industry. The past 19 months, as we've been talking about under COVID, have been some of the most challenging in a generation. This is true for every industry, but for the restaurant and hospitality industry, this has been for survival. Through sheer creativity, hard work, and resilience, workers and small businesses adapted to meet the difficult circumstances of the pandemic, ushering in a reimagining of our city streets and sidewalks as true public spaces and infusing them with vitality and camaraderie at a time when we needed it the most. So growing up, my parents actually owned and operated a small restaurant that was our livelihood. And that was the livelihoods of many other people in our community. The struggles of the hospitality industry are personal for me and for my family, just as they are for any community and for my constituents. And so I'm committed to this fight for the long haul. In the spring, my office coordinated a call-in campaign to urge support for legislation and aid for the restaurant and hospitality industry. Over the summer, I worked with senators in Western Pennsylvania to propose legislative protections after the provisions of the state's disaster declaration expired. And just this week, we saw the unanimous passage of House Bill 425, which extends the state emergency outdoor dining provisions through to the end of 2024. Thank you. Good news out of Harrisburg, guys. This was a hard won and momentous victory. The collective work of so many workers and businesses, many of whom make their home right here in Philadelphia. This issue has been a priority for me because it is a priority for you, for all of us. And even now, as we head toward another COVID winter and a still uncertain future, we need to ensure that this stays a priority. The need to support these workers and small businesses is as great as ever. We need to be doing everything in our power to give our restaurants a fighting chance. I applaud Councilmember Dom for his leadership during this extended period of hardship, and I'm in full support of his efforts to create a just system for extending outdoor dining permanently throughout the city. Thank you, Councilmember. When a deadly pandemic precluded our presence in each other's lives, the public reclamation and democratization of our streets and sidewalks created a means for us to gather safely and return to each other's lives. The conversations we need to be having right now are how to protect what we've built while simultaneously working to amend and adapt these spaces for freedom of movement for everyone. I'm proud to be standing in solidarity with the business owners and the restaurant workers who are my constituents, neighbors, and friends. The restaurant industry has my support as a representative, a community member, and as a customer. We're not just fighting for the survival of this industry, we're fighting for the livelihoods of the people and communities that these businesses sustain. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. I want to break this up a little bit and have a restaurant operator before we get to our next legislator. Michelle Linehan runs Home Point Bistro. Michelle?
Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Linehan, and I am the operator of On Point Bistro, as well as the president of Point Breeze Business Association. I actually wanted to tell you a little bit about a weekend getaway that I recently had. I went up to New York. I visited the Hudson Valley, the Museum of Modern Art in Central Park, and in the day and a half that I was there, I also ate at 5 different restaurants. The reason I'm telling you about this experience I had is because I think the importance of restaurants often escapes us. Restaurants are the cornerstone of tourism. They are the hub for our social connections, and they offer us experiences we would never be able to recreate in our own homes. This pandemic proved that for me because in my wonderful community of Point Breeze, people very quickly got sick of cooking in their own homes. And so we scraped by thanks to the ability to offer takeout to our neighbors. Our regular guests told us they could not wait for our doors to open up again so that they could reserve their tables, book their private events, and hire us for their off-site catering. All I can think about now is how sad it would have to be for us to close our doors for good. So the question I pose to you is this: what would the culture of your community look like without small restaurants? That may sound like an extreme idea, but without the proper funding and support, we are looking at an industry losing an uphill battle. When you consider the doubts about replenishing the Restaurant Revitalization Fund, I want you to think about the cooks who have catered your weddings, the servers who have helped you celebrate your birthdays, and the members of your families that we have surely hired. In fact, I want you to think about all of the jobs that we provide within our communities. And I want you to think about, during the pandemic, how 1.5 million restaurant workers lost their jobs. I want you to remember that in 2020, we saw a $2.4 billion loss in food service industry sales. Most of all, I want you to realize that this fight is not over for us. As a representative of the restaurants that are vital to your communities, I am telling you that we need help. We need as much help as we can get. We need support to continue the successful impact of outdoor dining, which has been a beacon of hope for us. As surveys have shown, only 64% of Americans feel comfortable dining indoors at this point. We need funding to keep our doors open and to keep your bellies full. I urge you to fight for Philadelphia's restaurants, and please do not let our city lose any more of the great restaurants that it already has. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'd like to welcome now, just on time, Representative Jordan Harris, the Democratic Caucus Whip in the House.
How's everybody doing? Oh, that sucked. How's everybody doing? All right. I'm Pennsylvania State Representative Jordan Harris. I represent parts of Point Breeze, Grace Ferry, Graduate Hospital, and Cape Sesame. I serve as the Democratic Whip in the House. So glad to be here with my colleague, who you heard from, Senator Saval, who represents parts of my district. I see Councilmember Dom. Good to see you as well. And it's so crazy I'm speaking now because I actually go to On Point Bistro. I have lots of my morning breakfast meetings at On Point Bistro, and sometimes lunch. The wings and the cheesesteak egg rolls are really good, although I should be eating more of the fruit there, but that's really good. I go to Chick's often on Washington Avenue because they have very, very, very good wings at Chick's. Garlic parm is my favorite. As you can tell, I go to a lot of restaurants in this city. And listen, the truth is, and I know some of you weren't too happy with me or some of my colleagues during the pandemic on some of our votes with regard to closing certain things to help us get through the pandemic. But now that we're on the other side, we're not over. We're getting there. But now that we're on the other side, it is extremely important that we use the resources that we have in Harrisburg to provide funding for the restaurant industry. Extremely important. Extremely important. Here's the thing. What we need your help. We have about $7 billion sitting in Harrisburg right now that we could be spending on helping folks get back to work. We could be spending it on helping the industry, but that money is just sitting there. And I want to be clear. This is your money. It's your tax dollars that are sitting there. So call your legislator and let them know that you want us to release the more than $7 billion that we have in Harrisburg that could be helping this industry. The truth of the matter is that many people across this city, across this Commonwealth, when they're stopping to have a cup of coffee, they're in a restaurant. And that cup of coffee may be able to spark conversation between two people who have never known each other, who have never met. The truth is that people go to restaurants across this city and they have meals that are meals between two different people who, had it not been for that restaurant, may have never met, may have never talked, may have never found out that they have more in common that they have that separates them. This is more than just going to pick up a burger or pick up some fries. This is about restaurants being vital parts of our community, being the economic engine for our community, but also being the common place that brings together people from different communities and different neighborhoods. Listen, I don't know what your religious background may be, but I grew up in the Christian faith. And one of the things that I remember about my Sunday school lessons was that one of the last things that Jesus Christ did was have a meal with his friends. Some people call it the Last Supper, but in my neighborhood, on that painting that my mom had on the wall, it looked like Jesus and his homies getting something to eat. And the truth is that there's something special and something important about when you break bread with a person. It's something transformational that can happen to a relationship when you do such. So what I want to tell you is that as a legislator in Harrisburg, I will do all that I can. I know my good friend Senator Saval is with me on this. We need to spend, and here's the thing, not spend, invest those resources, that's your tax dollars and your money, into this industry and other industries that we know will help this city grow, will help the region grow, and will help the Commonwealth. People come to this city because of you. and all of the great restaurants that you have. And feel free to give me all of your numbers so that I can find a restaurant to eat at in your neck of the woods, because I am definitely one of your #1 patrons. God bless, and thanks so much.
Thank you so much. And talk about that rainy day fund. I mean, we've had some rainy days, brother. So our next guest is not only intimately involved with the restaurant and knows more about restaurants than anybody, but he also happens to be the chief of staff for Congressman Dwight Evans. And he did such a great job with the Reading Terminal, which is amazing. So I'd like to welcome up Anuj Gupta.
Good afternoon. Let's give a round of applause to PLRA for the continued fight and advocacy they've been putting up for the last year and a half. You know, prior to March 2020, the food economy in Philadelphia covered 1 in every 12 jobs. That's an astounding number, disproportionately led by restaurants. Any commercial area in our city, from Castor Ave in the northeast to Woodland Ave in the southwest, Center City, West Philly, the revitalization and resurgence of our city and commercial corridors has been led by restaurants and provided countless job opportunities at every step on the economic ladder. The import of this industry to our city is without question. It's why Congressman Evans, over the course of the last 18 months, has voted in support of more than $800 billion towards small business relief and targeted restaurant relief, from 3 rounds of the Paycheck Protection Program to the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. And yet, it is not enough. I can tell you, as from a personal perspective, my family owns 2 restaurants here in Philadelphia. We were down 90% in March and April of last year. We still have not gotten back to our 2019 numbers. I know that personally. I know from my friends at the Reading Terminal, they are still hurting. But there are things that we can do. Number 1, Congressman Evans has joined with 222 of his colleagues to sponsor a replenishment of the Restaurant Revitalization Fund. Call the other members of Congress. There is no district in America, red or blue, in which restaurants are not an important constituent. It is not a political issue. Number 2, let's support our friends in the General Assembly who understand that that $7 billion of American Rescue Plan money is meant for the people and small businesses of Pennsylvania, not to sit in an escrow account. Get them to put those dollars towards COVID relief. These restaurants are still hurting from the pandemic. Number 3, let's support common sense, neighborhood-sensitive legislation that Councilman Dom has introduced that will allow restaurants to continue using a lifeline that got them through the pandemic, and they're going to need it again in short order. And number 4, and probably the most important, please go out of your way to patronize these restaurants. They are family-owned businesses. They are intergenerational businesses. They give men and women economic opportunity, okay? I mean, all the federal and state and local aid in the world will not make a difference unless we patronize them. Let's keep this important part of our economy alive. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hey, Councilman. I'd like to welcome up Councilman Green. Say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's good to see each other in 3 dimensions as opposed to 2 dimensions on Zoom and Skype and WebEx. But being here is very important because this is how we grow our city. And as an at-large member of City Council, I get a chance to represent, in spite of the emergency sound behind me, all facets of the city of Philadelphia. But what's important about the work that you've done over these past 19 months is the real challenges in helping to grow businesses, especially restaurants in the city of Philadelphia and other type of establishments. Well, I think it's going to go on for a little while. So I'll use my outdoor voice, my church voice, Representative Harris.
That's right.
So one of the challenges of this pandemic is really adapting to all the challenges that we've had over the past 19 months. And what I've seen is that you really try to do the best you can to help the businesses and your employees get through all the challenges of these past 19 months. Because it's been something that none of us had ever anticipated. And from my perspective, we as a city need to partner in a better way with the private sector. I've been blessed to wear a lot of different hats. That's why I don't have as much hair as I used to. But one of those hats was being president of the Pennsylvania Municipal League and also serving on the board of National League of Cities and seeing what other cities have been doing to address the issues that you all are having. It's unfortunate it took us a while to get there, but we finally did get there. But we need to really listen more to the private sector and how we can be a better partner on addressing a lot of these issues that really impact and improve our neighborhoods, not just in the city, but neighborhoods around the city of Philadelphia. So I'm glad we're here now. Hopefully it'll stay warmer longer, and maybe one of the few benefits of climate change, but make sure that we can benefit all the restaurants and all the establishments that are here today. So thank you for the opportunity and keep doing the great work that you're doing to make Philadelphia the jewel that it is around the country.
Thank you so much. And finally, our host today would like to say a few words. Teddy Sorius. Hey, thanks so much for having us. This place is beautiful. We couldn't have asked for a better backdrop here.
Hi, everybody. I want to thank everybody for coming out today. I especially want to thank PRLA. I want to thank Ben Fletcher. I've called up Ben multiple times and during the all the closures, and I would freaking out what's going to happen. These are our businesses. Really stressful, and he was always like walking us over. It's gonna be fine. We're gonna figure this out. So I wanted to thank you very much for being there for me. Always. There's like 11 a.m. phone calls like, what are we doing? Are we gonna be able to operate? But for those who don't know me, my name is Teddy Sorius. I'm the owner of Craft Concepts Group. It's an umbrella of about 9 restaurants now. I started my company when I was 19 years old. We only had one bar at the time. I got a small loan with my father, and we bartended together, side by side. My father was a bartender for years, and I always wanted to get in this business. I was working at Wawa, and I sold cell phones and beepers, aging myself. And we bartended together. The building that we were working in was Finland Pools, 12th and Sansom. When it would rain outside, it would rain inside. The building was in really bad shape, and we stuck with it. We renovated the building after 6 years after we purchased it, put all our life savings in. When it was time to reopen, I continued to bartend for 5 more years until it was time to open my next place. Soon after, my father retired, and I began to build restaurant after restaurant. I thought it was bulletproof. 2020 hit, and so did COVID. It was a rude awakening, not just for me, but for all of us. We were closed for 2 weeks, which quickly became months. We didn't know what was coming or what was going to happen. Takeout did help, but outdoor seating is what saved my businesses. We were lucky enough to build the outdoor parklets and serve food, and we served alcohol outside, which is welcomed by everybody. Outdoor seating in general has created a whole different type of restaurant experience for not only us, but for our guests and Philly as a whole. Without being able to operate outdoors, we would not be able to be as successful as we are today. I cannot express how imperative outdoor dining has been to the restaurant industry, which brings us to the RRF. For those restaurants that have received the RRF, it is well deserved. But for the many of us that have not and are still in need of the extra help to pay back old debt and back rent, that extra support allows us to continue to build our businesses for the future. I really want to thank Ellen Dobb and all the City Council for their hard work to make outdoor dining permanent in Philadelphia. I'd also like to thank Congressman Evans, Congressman Fitzpatrick, and our entire congressional delegation in helping us to get the RRF replenished. Thanks again for being here, everybody. Please stick around and have some drinks after.
I want to thank all the legislators for being here, but I really want to thank all these restaurant operators and the folks from the business improvement districts that are here. I mean, these guys are so busy, they're so understaffed, and look around. They're here because this means something to them, and just thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for being here today. Go grab a burger and tip the bartender well. Thank you so much.